eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on?
How far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go exactly the same place to the light in our galaxy. Everything. Because everything is in balance. Everything is a polarity.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.
We are back. We are so back, baby. Don't ever go that long. I don't want to ever go that long without going live and seeing you guys again. Don't do that to me again. I don't like it. I get separation anxiety. I really do. It's felt like a while, but it really hasn't been that long. And, you know, it's my fault. It's not your fault. It's my fault. Things have been kind of crazy here. We've got a lot going on, exciting stuff coming up though. And haven't really said too much about it just yet. But I'm planning to tell you guys what's going on and what the exciting stuff that's coming up in 2 weeks. Because in 2 weeks, it is Polarity's first birthday. Yep, it's going to be 1 year since we uploaded our very first video to this channel. And I'm looking forward to having a little party with you guys. We're going to be having a fun stream in 2 weeks. I wasn't officially going to announce this until this weekend, but it's been that long that I feel like I owe you guys something. So that's what's happening on the first couple of days of November. We're going to be doing a big stream celebrating. It's going to be a lot of fun. Celebrating Polarity's first birthday, and at the end of that stream, I will be filling you guys in with what's coming up, which is going to be really exciting, and I'm looking forward to that. Big stream today, though. Like I said, it's been a few days, so we have a lot of stuff to catch up on, and the big thing that we're going to be looking at today is something that's come out from Jozak from Skywatcher. A pretty interesting video. We're going to watch the whole thing and talk about it, but we've got a couple of other things as well, namely couple of clips from Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen. Some interesting stuff there. And also, we're going to kick off with, like, you guys know I like to kick off the show with just kind of like a quick little side quest, little weird story. We got something weird to check out today. And I think we should just get straight into it. But, of course, let's just say hello to the girl. Your chat isn't there, but she's snoozing anyway. You don't want to wake her up, but she is here. She's looking shiny as ever. She's enjoyed a couple of days away. Just quickly, Harry Pot Smoke, you little freak, welcome. Thank you for becoming a member. Monkey Sausage and Rambro have both gifted a membership. My guys, thank you very much for the generosity. Let's get some love in the chat for these new weirdos. And 160 Medic, celebrating 3 months as a member, says, it's been a while for me. Missed several weeks of live, but I've watched every episode. My man, I appreciate you. I know we sort of stream at the same time, and that doesn't work out for everyone around the world, but the fact that you guys always tune in after the fact, it means a lot to me. So thank you very much for the support. And like I said, it's going to be a big one today, so I need to get back in the habit of adding in chapter markers the following day, because I know that does make it a little bit easier to navigate and kind of skip past all the little chit-chat that we know Darren doesn't like. So don't worry, Darren, chapters are coming. So I think we can actually stay right here for the first part. We're going to have to... Actually, we can leave Suki there. You guys might have seen that I think just recently there was a massive... I guess you could call it like a rave, I guess. There was a rave on the Giza Plateau. Did anyone see this? I didn't even know they did that. And, you know, I consider myself relatively in the know and up to date with, like, festivals and EDM and, you know, all that kind. Not that I do it regularly, but, you know, I enjoy that kind of music. You know, I'm partial to a good time. Let's just put it that way. And I've seen this footage of, like, a proper rave with, like, crazy looking visuals, which we're going to look at in a sec. Literally, like, with all the pyramids right behind the DJ. And there is, like, these lights coming out of the tip of the pyramid. Like, I don't know. It looks wild. And I can't help but think, like, what would this look like from 30,000 feet, 60,000 from space? Like, the tip of the pyramid is, like, shooting lights off into space. It looks wild. So We're going to look at a quick couple of clips from that. Now, I've got to be careful because we don't want to get kicked off YouTube and there is music in it. But, I like to push the envelope. I will always push the boundaries. And I'm going to play it anyway. And if you're watching this after the fact, if you're not watching this live and all of a sudden it cuts, we got beaten by the copyright boss. But I might just sort of cut the volume in and out just so you guys can get a little bit of a feel. But hopefully we can finesse the copyright boss here. So check this out. We've got 2 clips to look at. This is the first one. Going to mute it just for a sec. Just for the copyright boss. We'll come back. But how wild, and you know what? I might just remove your chat just so you guys can really see. I mean, look at this, dude. How epic is that? How cool. Look at that. Let's get a bit more music. Okay. Like, dude, I mean, this looks wild. I would love to be here. This looks like such a sick event, but like, look at that light coming out of the top of the pyramid. That is kind of like it's cool, but it's also kind of creepy. Yeah, a lot of people in the chat saying it looks like a ritual, and this is what a lot of people were saying on X about it as well. That like this is some kind of weird I mean, I feel like everything is satanic these days. Not that it actually is, but like no matter what you do, someone out there thinks it's satanic. And maybe they're right. Maybe they're right. But, I'm sure everyone here with their phones up isn't there worshipping Satan. They're probably having an amazing time, but who knows what the real intentions are behind it. I might be naive, but I like to tell myself that these people are just here having a great time. But that might not be the case. There's only a couple more seconds on this one left. We'll play it. Looks like a good time, right? Check out the next one. This is where it gets really weird. So this is the same festival, the same crowd, but it's got this weird like AI robot god thing. And people were saying that there's like Masonic symbolism involved in this. I couldn't necessarily see it or pick it, so I'm interested to see if you guys can see what they're referring to. Check this out. Just muting it for the copyright boss. We'll bring it back in a sec, but I mean, this is kind of wild, right? This is the same place. So I don't know. This is like a hologram, I guess. I mean, you can't say that doesn't look like a good time. Please. That's Anima. Yes. EDM. Okay, look. The person named EDM Forever. You seem like the person I need to ask some questions to here. I've seen this. Let's play that one again, actually. I've seen this thing on a lot of reels, on a lot of things on Instagram. Is this robot thing Anima, or is Anima the artist, or is Anima the artist that always uses this robot? Can you give me some context here? Because this was posted with people saying that this is like Masonic symbolism, this is Satan, and obviously I've done my deep dives into the satanic stuff. I'm open to it, but I'm very hesitant to just be like, it's all Satan. Because that's a pretty grim way to live life. You know what I mean? The DJ is called Anima. And like this is their signature sort of production. This is their signature thing. I've definitely seen a lot of it. It would be awesome to see, for sure. It looks like a really fun time. Good vibes. I'm not so sure it is satanic, but I mean, like I said, it's just like YouTube, honestly. Like, not that YouTube is satanic, but, it doesn't matter what you do on YouTube or what you say. Someone will hate you for it. Someone will think you're an idiot. Someone will think you're wrong, right? You can't please everyone. I think it's like that with music or with anything. You could do anything with great intention. Someone's going to tell you're a devil worshiper and it's satanic. I mean, you know what I mean? You just can't please everyone. But I just thought this would be a fun little way to kick off the show today. Transhuman, yeah, it definitely. You know, I mean, that to me is probably where those ideas are coming from. The fact that transhumanism and AI, and there's all this fear around that, and then you've got this giant-looking AI god thing out the front of the pyramids, firing a light off into space, in some kind of loosh farm, like apparently all festivals are. Who knows? But either way, looks like a good time. Pretty interesting. And just seeing the pyramids lit up like that, I thought was pretty cool. Build on Sound says everybody has a phone in their hand. Worship pose. Yeah, that's always a little bit sad. But I mean, I'm guilty of it. I'm definitely guilty of being at shows and filming a lot. But I'm also conscious as well that I try to put that down and just like be present and enjoy the moment. Whoa, you know what loosh is, Josh? You are in deep. Yeah, bro, this is not my first rodeo. Yep, not my first rodeo at all. Bronny says 5:30 a.m. Time to start dog shit shift. Aliens for the win. My man, you pick up that dog shit, Bronny. You make sure no shit remains unpicked, sir. You go get that shit. Have a great day, sir. Thank you for the support. Russell says, hello from Texas, God's country. My man. It's 5:38 a.m. Is this the normal time you are live, you freak? It certainly is, sir. Yep. It's 9:10 here at night, and I do normally stream at this time. Sometimes I'll stream at 11 a.m., but this is sort of the normal. But like I said, keep an eye out because whether you miss it or not, there's usually going to be an hour or so of Polarity weirdness for you to catch up on, even if it's not live. But I will say, in about a month or so, these times may shift a little bit, but we'll find out more about that soon. Tommy Bird, my man, has gifted a membership as well. Thank you very much, Tommy. Let's get some love in the chat, guys, and let's actually get into the show. So here we are at the Polarity TV. Suki is here looking cozy. So the main story today is Jordan Jozak. Now, some of you guys might have seen the clip that he posted on X. Very, very candid. And, you know, I don't know if it's me just being a conspiracy theorist and looking for the conspiracy in everything, and you know, I don't know Jordan, so I also need to be aware that like I can't fully judge him, and we haven't seen much of him, and I don't want to influence you guys. I don't want to influence your perception with what I say, so I don't want to say too much because I am interested to see how you guys feel when you see this. But I'll just say this, but I want you guys to make up your own mind. I could be wrong. I could be a tinfoil hat idiot. It sort of seems like a little bit, not scripted, but I don't know. Something about the way he is delivering what he's saying feels a little bit off, and I can't put my finger on what it is. Maybe you guys can, or maybe, hopefully, you guys don't even notice it, and it's just me being a tinfoil hat lizard believer. Okay, so please make up your own mind because I do want to see what you guys have to say. Before we watch that, though, I thought it would be a good idea to just check out the very first time we saw Jordan Jozak, which was in the first episode of Skywatcher. This is where he was introduced to us for the very first time. It's 2 minutes. Nice little bit of context, a little bit of background for anyone who's maybe new or who hasn't seen it. We'll watch that, and then we'll get into the actual clip that just came out, I think this morning or yesterday.
Jordan, I really appreciate you joining us here today.
Alex, it's an honor to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
So maybe let's start by sharing a little bit about your background.
Yeah. So most recently, I worked in the space technology space, a little bit of data science, ultimately taking different imagery types and trying to solve solutions for the utility industry.
I'm curious, by chance, do you believe that a higher form of non-human intelligence has visited this planet?
I am certain.
You are certain? How certain are you?
100%.
I mean, Jordan, that's a pretty bold statement. Where does that certainty come from?
That certainty comes from my firsthand experience in what I term a psionic exploitation program between the years of 2005 and 2010, where I interfaced and worked with non-human intelligence and things like UAP directly.
I mean, Jordan, that is an incredible claim. For the viewer at home, what were you doing in this program on a daily basis?
Yeah, so this would look at like things that many people would consider woo wooey, right? Like astral projection or meditation.
He's dirty talking. We love it here. We love it.
But ultimately, what we were really investigating was how far could we stretch the bounds of human consciousness. Beyond that, how could we get human consciousness to interface directly with things like recovered materials and recovered crafts? What I can tell you from the craft and some of the different projects that we worked on directly is ultimately that they interfaced with us. What I mean by that is my consciousness could project into these craft and recovered materials and then access a suite of commands, essentially capabilities to do various things, including piloting. But ultimately, the story is not about piloting some UAP with your mind. This story is much more about what is consciousness?
Yeah.
Why can we interface with these things?
Do you have material that supports these claims?
I have tons of material, linearly autobiographical records that will support my claims.
There you go. He's got the material that will support his claims. Let's hope we get to see some of that. Obviously, we're gonna look at the new clip of Jordan talking about it and what his plans are. But I will say, just straight off the bat, in terms of what I was saying before about the clip that we're about to watch, to me, something just felt like a little bit like, sometimes you just can't put your finger on it, but it's like something feels weird here. The way he's speaking in this feels much more like I don't really get that feeling. Now, normally, I feel like it's the other way around. When we're watching precision cut, high production, interviewee clips, they usually feel weird. They usually feel non-organic and, especially on these topics, right? No one likes high production in this topic, really, because it just feels a little too X-Files-y. And it takes away from the seriousness of the topic. The next clip is far more organic. It's in the moment. It's one take, which, to give him credit, to speak for 12 minutes, one take, there's definitely something in that, but I don't know. Maybe he's reading off a script. I don't know. We'll get into that. We'll get into that. There's a few people in the chat saying that they are gate kids as well. We do get that a lot. I think there's probably something in the fact that a lot of the people who are here and interested in these kind of topics, I don't think it's a coincidence that a lot of you guys were probably also gate kids as well. Yeah, I don't think that's a coincidence at all. I think we're all probably cut from a very similar cloth. Before we get into that clip, Clear Abundant says, my man, I emailed you, got to hit a boy back, specifically pertains to psionic assets coming to Oz to summon UFOs. I did see your email, my friend. Honestly, just super, super busy at the moment. Like I said, I'm going to tell you guys more about what's coming up in a couple of weeks, but I am just, that clip, that meme of the kid that's drowning and he's barely got his head above the water. And then there's the mum in the background, playing with the child. I'm that kid right now. We're just hanging in there. We are kicking. We are barely treading water and still kind of drowning, but we're here and, I'm happy. I'm happy to be here. I really am. Elwood with $20, my man, thank you very much, says the NHI's finally woke me up to catch a stream. 6:30 a.m. Go Freaks, go. Keep up the epic work, my man Elwood. Thank you very much, brother. Let's go Freaks. And he's also become a member as well, you little freak. Let's get some love in the chat for Elwood. And let's jump into the clip that just came out of Jordan Jozak. And again, I want you guys to make your own mind up here. It's 12 minutes, so we will likely stop maybe once or twice, but we'll get a good chunk of it out so you guys can sort of get your mind up. But before we do, Clear Abundance, my man, did you just put an extra 0 on the end of that? He's just gifted 50 memberships. Dude, that might be one of the biggest we've ever had. Thank you very much. That is insane. Guys, let's get some love in the chat for 50 new freaks. Welcome, guys. We do members-only live streams once a week. We've got members only content you can go back and watch. We've got a member section of the Discord. You get a brand new badge next to your name to let people know how much of a freak you are. Thank you very much, my friend. That's super generous. And welcome to all the new weirdos. And let's just get some love hearts flowing. All right, here we go. Jordan Jozak, let me know what you guys are feeling about this one.
Hi, my name's Jordan Jozak. You may know me from the recent Skywatcher series, where myself, among other folks like Jacob Barber, gave testimony about our experiences in covert and compartmented programs. That was last year, August. I gave testimony in that video where I described my firsthand experience with non-human intelligence and the affiliated technology. Today is October 13th, 2025, and to date, no one from Congress has contacted me. So, I figured I'd like to tell my own story this time. Instead of going on big shows where everyone's trying to control a narrative and present their own flavor of the same pie, I think it's time we have an honest conversation about what's actually going on. The truth is, it's not easy to explain. In fact, I'm not even sure if I know how to exactly explain it, but here's the basics. If you watch the Skywatcher series, you saw me claim that I was in a psionic exploitation program between the years of 2005 and 2010. And if you're looking at me and trying to do the age comparison, well, you're right. I'm age 30. In 2005 and 2010, I was ages 9 and 14. This is one of the difficult things that we're going to have to navigate if we desire disclosure as a nation. There are very uncomfortable truths regarding the past programmatic nature of the program itself. And quite frankly, I didn't ask for any of this. I was scouted within the school system through the Gifted and Talented Education Network. In 2005, I began a relationship with a psychologist who would come into my school district, and I would begin to become separated from the rest of my classmates. This continued on, our relationship when my parents were not fully given the truth of why I was seeing a psychologist or why the school district was recommending that I would see them after hours. But this relationship progressed for a few years. What was happening during that time was I was progressing through the outer areas of a psionic recruitment program that, to my knowledge, has been running throughout the United States for some time. We don't have to look too far to look back at Gifted and Talented Education Initiatives, as well as TAG, Talented and Gifted Initiatives as well. The problem being is not all of that is bad. However, for those that are familiar with how intelligence operations work, they work covertly. They work through channels that carry plausible deniability. And that was the nature of what happened to me. In 2008, I was progressing and excelling within the program to the point that they removed me from the public school district. And for 2 years, I attended school at what seemed like a very normal, lockdown, scan in, scan out, off-site facility. My parents were just told that I was going there to get better. I just needed mental health treatment. But what they didn't know is that facility was a cover for a much larger program where I interacted with non-human intelligence and its associated technology. I interacted with a piece of technology known as Sylvia within the program. And that's where things get very difficult. Up to this point, the conversation within the Disclosure Network has been solely focused on the nuts and bolts characteristics, the UAP, the tech, the flying saucers, and everything else imaginable in a materialistic sense. But there's a big missing link in how we navigate this. And that missing link is consciousness. We need to have an honest conversation about ourselves. Psi has been a missing link, not only within science, physics, but just our overall advancement and evolution as a human species.
How are we feeling so far, team? I think at the start, a lot of people were saying he's reading from cue cards or he's reading from a script. That might be so, but I don't think that means it doesn't mean he's lying. Do you know what I mean? It might just mean he's wanted to remember his lines. And, you know, I think maybe that's what is sort of throwing me off a little bit, is because you can tell, like, in the cadence and tone of his speech that it's reading from something, or it's rehearsed. It's not like organically just kind of flowing at how he would normally talk. And I think maybe that's what was throwing me a little bit. But that doesn't mean he's lying. Doesn't mean he's not telling the truth. The one thing that sticks in the back of my mind is, and I've sort of mentioned this a little bit recently, and I might be interviewing someone. Well, I hopefully will be interviewing someone very soon who wants to talk about this, who is like confident and very sure that I don't know about Jordan Jozak specifically, but he has spoken about like the psionic assets at Skywatcher, people like Jake Barber and other big names that we all know are all being manipulated at some level with an MK Ultra like program. There is some form of like mental infiltration happening with these people. Actually, this person did specifically name Michael Batista, who is the other guy in that Skywatcher episode. So, you know, and I think that's why I think about that, because if this guy is saying this is happening to him, and I mean, I feel like this guy's gone through the same process. He does the same things. I feel like it could be happening to him too. So when I sort of see that like cognitive dissonance with when he's speaking, like, yes, it could just be cue cards. Yes, it could just be like a bit of nerves in front of the camera or something like that. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, is this motherfucker mind controlled? You know what I mean? I think that's, I don't know. That's just what's on my mind. But that person will hopefully be coming on the show in a couple of weeks. And I'm hoping he says as much publicly as he said to me privately, or at least some of it. But I will just give you guys a little drop, because I saw someone mention it in the chat earlier. Finished up a really, really awesome conversation this morning with Nathaniel Gillis, and I'm hoping that's going to come out within the next couple of days. But I've got a lot of editing to do, so that should be coming soon. But let's keep going.
Components of the program are well familiar that consciousness is non-local. And what does that mean? Well, it means that our essence is more than our body. We can have out-of-body experiences, and we can perhaps imprint or even affect the reality around us. So what does that mean? Well, that means that you are very much in control of your own reality. Your thoughts do become things, and the whole age-old addict of The Secret or manifestation is, in my mind, things that are very true, and things that I was trained on to exploit within the program. See, we weren't doing things like getting in a secret spaceship or going to underground bases and meeting with aliens. We were using consciousness technology that engaged with us, and they needed very special kids to do that. Within the program for those 2 years, I worked with autistic non-speakers, and the abuses that I saw committed were disgusting. While I was a kid who had a voice and could use my body, I could kick and scream when the experiments were getting bad. But for those that were non-speaking or non-moving, they had a much more difficult time. And there needs to be a serious investigation into this programmatic nature. Now, what is the program? Well, that's a whole other problem. Most people understand this component of a legacy program, which in my mind is exactly how the beginning started. However, more recently, every single agency has got their hands on either some aspect of this research or some aspect of the program itself. While everyone would love to think that there's a centralized, beautiful little board that has all this compartmented and they're just not releasing it, the real truth is shit is so much more messy than that. Let me tell you. I don't know exactly what the pathway forward is here, but we need to really rapidly scale up our research into consciousness. And I think right now, AI is providing us the ability to take a rapid step.
This is the part, like everything he said so far, obviously, other than the bit of me feeling a little bit like, unsure, I think that's a lot of that is probably me just being a conspiracy theorist. But everything he said up until this point, like agree, resonate, support you, you know, and I wish nothing but the best for you. You know what I mean? But then the little shift of like, we need to like lean into AI. We need to give ourselves to AI. Okay, he didn't say that, but you know, that's kind of like, it seems like the corner that we're turning here. That is where I get a little bit like, don't know how I feel about that one. But you know, today when me and Nathaniel were talking, we sort of did speak about the fact that like, you know, there is some kind of like consciousness technology involved here, and that, you know, we've spoke about this on the show a lot. Esotericism, whether you ritual, magic, whatever, go back hundreds of years, people were using these things as the innovation for scientific advancement, as Carlson has said, right? So I think when we're talking about like consciousness technologies and then like AI as well, I don't know. I feel like that's when things can start to get a little bit murky, because we're sort of dealing with things. We're talking about things that we don't fully understand yet. And like a wrong step or a wrong move could be pretty detrimental, I think, overall.
We don't need our government to tell us what we already know. The truth is out there. And there's many individuals like myself who are trying to find their voice to bring this to others. None of us want problems. None of us want to burn down the system. And none of us are sitting here on a soapbox telling you that you should feel bad for me. In fact, my story is much different. I did go through hell. Many other kids went through hell. And we worked firsthand in these programs at a young age. From that point forward, you either went further into the DoD establishment or you stayed on the outside, which I did for many years. I stand here today to take a stand, to challenge all of us to think differently. And that's why I'm launching 3 crowd-funded projects: Night Under the Stars, the Telepathy Center, and Legacy Voices.
And, you know, again, I don't want to be pessimistic, but whenever we're talking about the UFO topic and I hear crowd-funded, I just get flashbacks of the To the Stars Academy UFO, the crowd-funded UFO, okay? Never forget that. Never forget that people from the CIA, a guy from Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, Hal Puthoff, and Tom DeLonge, but leave him out of this. Leave Tom out of this. He was just trying his best, okay? But you know, he's the least one that I think should be like spoken about in it anyway. Not just because I'm a fan, but because at the end of the day, he was just a guitar player in a band trying to do something that I think kind of got a little hijacked. But let's not forget that people from the CIA, Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, and other interesting places came out and tried to take the public's money to build a UFO. That really happened. Like, we say it, and it's like, oh yeah, I remember that. But like, think about that. Think about that. That actually happened. They tried to take your money to crowdfund a UFO. It never happened. And the money, obviously, people invested in it. I would have if I was intelligent enough to, or maybe financially capable enough at the time to do it. I would have 100%, but I didn't. But people did. What happened? Nothing. So, and you know, recently the Soul Foundation, I believe it was, were like charging, were like asking for memberships. Some of them were like in the thousands per year. You know, when we're talking about like disclosure and discovering the truth about reality, especially when it's like consciousness related, right? Because consciousness is in all of us. And it's something we can learn about, through research, but also going inwards, meditation, going in, you can learn about consciousness. And I really do think that is the path forward for humanity. So because of that, though, it's a massive red flag when people start saying, we need to learn about consciousness, we need to build UFOs, and pay me. Guys, it's really important we need to learn about consciousness. Give me $500 and I'll help you. Feels kind of weird.
I want to talk about legacy voices. There are many people like myself with firsthand knowledge, psi protocols, firsthand experiencers, and a whole untapped community of experiencers, of people experiencing things like direct contact or altered states of consciousness with shared messages and synchronicities. It's clear that there's something like an awakening potentially happening in human consciousness, and we're still focused on drones.
Again, I agree what he's saying here. And after what I just said, I don't want that to sound like I'm attacking Jordan here. And, because that may not necessarily be the case, but it does just feel like PTSD, a bit like, they're asking for money again. They're promising UFOs. They're promising this, but they're asking for money. It's just got this to it. We shouldn't have to pay to learn about the truth of the world that we live in. We shouldn't have to pay to learn about the truth about ourselves. I'm not saying that's what he's doing here, but it echoes those kind of things. Somebody said, Fuburito said, he's saying it like an actor doing a cold line reading at an audition. It's not natural. And I agree. And I think this is probably the thing that was throwing me off at the start. But he's not a YouTuber. He's not an actor. He probably doesn't do this often. He might literally just be reading off a script and trying to give his best, oomph into it. And it's just coming off as someone who isn't a professional because he isn't a professional. Do you know what I mean? So I get you. I feel you. I see it too. But I don't know if we should use that as an excuse to write off what he's saying. But I feel you. I see it too.
If all of this is a wake-up call for us to think differently and to think bigger. So that three-part process, Legacy Voices, is designed to give voices to those that have credible information and firsthand experiences. We want to leverage AI to do pattern recognition, to bring whatever intuitive information can be gleaned that could potentially further resources as we begin to look into the aspects of the phenomenon. It's not just consciousness, it's not just nuts and bolts, and frankly, it's not just plasma. It's all of it at the same time. I think we're potentially evolving. Maybe we're at the techno-singularity. Maybe that this is a dimensional shift in nature that we are experiencing, and all of this is like a mismatch of thoughts as we navigate this bumpy journey together. However, one thing's incredibly important to me, that these voices get out, that those that have information can get their testimony to researchers, and AI is the only way to do that. So we're proposing an online platform that uses webcam capabilities to scale and ingest testimonies from both experiencers as well as those that have firsthand information and feel comfortable sharing that. More to find on the links below. Beyond that, I'm launching an experiential series called Night Under the Stars, where you can come and experience exactly what happened at Esalen Institute last year, where Ross...
Does that include all the naked girls and stuff? Is that because that's what happened to Esalen, right? Everyone was sort of naked and summoning orbs and stuff. So is that included in the package as well, Jordan? If so, I'm interested just for science. I'll go on behalf of you guys and just let you know what's going on. Just for research.
Coolheart gave testimony of my experience where blue orbs came and interacted with us. I'm not doing this to further UAP research. I'm doing this to further research within ourselves. I think if we all open our hearts and explore meditative practices, the phenomena seems to engage with us. But what does that mean? I don't know, but we should...
Yeah, they weren't blue orbs. They weren't blue orbs that they saw. They were blue balls though. Not the orbs that they were expecting, but yeah. I think that's what they saw.
Be looking there together. We should be bringing sensors. Maybe we don't need a masculine militaristic edge trying to control what is the next lead for humanity. Maybe we should take a different approach and ask the phenomena, what's going on here? And lastly, I'm launching the Telepathy Center, where I hope to bring together those on the concepts of spirituality, consciousness, as well as research, and put all of these different ingredients into the same chamber and see if we can rapidly scale together our understanding as well. I don't think we're just missing physics. I think there's a culmination of things all along the way that we need to begin taking a look at. And some of that's in ancient esoteric traditions. Some of that's in our religious frameworks. Some of that's in spirituality, and some of that's right here. We in the Western world need to take a different approach to how we look at this. And I challenge everyone, that whether you're a legacy program member or not, to use your voice. Don't fall for the falling system, and get out there and make a difference. For those that have been looking at my history and asking some questions, I wanted to share a story.
Merch Gray says the dude's a cop. My guy is paranoid as hell. I don't know if he's a cop, but you know, he might be a little sus. I get it.
Someone asked me recently if I was actually an arborist or if that was some cover job. The truth is, I love trees, and I really was an arborist, a certified one, for many years. In fact, in consciousness research, there's so much gleaning of telepathy actually within fungal networks of trees. We should be looking there. We should be bringing scientists out to not only nature as we question the stars, but also our own hearts as we question our own. I'll leave you with a picture of one of my favorite trees. Maybe you've seen it before.
So this is how the interview ends. There's no more words, and it just kind of fades out. Now, I was actually meant to pull up this picture because he holds this for another few more seconds and doesn't actually say anything. So I feel like something about this picture is significant that like we're meant to clue onto or look into. And I actually forgot to sort of make it bigger, but you guys know that your boy can work on the fly. Okay, you know, we can roll with the flow. Sometimes things aren't perfect, but you know your boy will make it work. Now, does anyone? What does this say? The colonists under Liberty Tree? Yeah, the colonists under Liberty Tree. I'm pretty sure that's what it says. Does anyone know anything about this image? It must have some kind of significance because, like I said, he holds this for like a while and doesn't say anything. By the way, we've had a poll running in the chat. We've got 181 votes asking if people are feeling if Jordan Jozak is authentic or sus. We're going to end that poll with 77% of you calling sus. You know, I'm just trying to sum up my thoughts for you guys. I don't think Jordan Jozak himself is sus. I don't think he's on here trying to deceive people. But I feel like there is, given where he comes from, given the fact that he's been working as a psionic asset since a child, and we know that, I mean, even Dylan Borland said in his recent interview that even like Dylan Borland believes that he may have been a victim of mind control or MK Ultra, right? If this kid has been doing this since he was a kid, I don't think it's a stretch of the imagination to say he has potentially been tampered with at some point or is maybe being tampered with right now. Now, if Jordan happens to see this, I hope he doesn't take it personally because it's not personal. It's just trying to discern truth from reality, dark from light. That's really all it is. Marinda says he doesn't have his own personality. Yeah, I think that comes down to him. He's obviously reading from a script or from cue cards or something like that, which is normal, right? Most YouTubers have a script. You can tell when you watch a YouTube video when people have a script. Some people, like Jesse Michaels, reads from a script. You can tell when he's doing his videos, he's reading from a teleprompter. Like you can tell, and like that's not a bad thing, by the way. For his kind of videos and the way he presents his stuff, you kind of need one, right? So it's not like a bad thing. How good you are at reading from a prompt and maintaining like that authentic cadence in your delivery, that's a skill. And someone like Jordan, who doesn't do this often, probably hasn't developed that skill. So I feel like when, you say he doesn't have a personality, I feel like what we're probably getting is him not really showing his personality because he's trying to read, but also still kind of have some kind of tone in his speech, right? So I don't know. Heidi's saying the whole thing was a sales pitch. Yeah, like I said, I mean, everyone's going to get upset when you start talking about money and crowdfunding and all that kind of stuff at the end. People don't like that kind of stuff. And I do tend to agree. I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with people monetizing certain aspects of what they do. If they have a talent or they have a service or they have something that they can give to the community, I don't think there's anything wrong with monetizing that. But if you're gatekeeping like knowledge, if you're gatekeeping truth, if you're gatekeeping like innate human abilities that we all have but we don't really know about, things to do with consciousness and how it works and how it interacts with reality, if you're monetizing that, that's a problem. That is definitely a problem. Is that what is happening here? I think it's still maybe hard to tell, but it's interesting nonetheless, and I think we should definitely keep an eye on this. Stevie, actually, we've missed a few here. Heath says this show is fire. Weirdos are significantly solid. My man, I'd have to agree with you. The weirdos are absolutely solid. Best community on YouTube, if I say so myself. Michael Frost says Jason Samosa episode on the whole thing being an MK Ultra job from World War II, maybe. Yeah, exactly. The mind control stuff has never stopped, guys. It has never stopped. It just wouldn't. Why would it? Being able to weaponize someone's perception, being able to make someone think they're seeing something that they're not, being able to make somebody do something that they don't know that they're doing, or hijacking their consciousness and being able to almost remotely control them is the most powerful weapon you could imagine. What could be more powerful than that? Other than like a nuke destroying the whole world, but that's not really what we're talking about here. We're talking about manipulation weapons. There's no way this stuff ended. And I'm going to give you guys a little bit of I'm going to tell you something here. I told Jason I was going to be a whistleblower. I won't reveal what it is, but I'm going to blow the whistle on Jason Samosa right now. And you guys, this was ontologically shocking for me. And I'm not going to tell you the truth of it, but I'm going to blow the whistle a little bit and let you guys figure it out. You can maybe go ask him, but I'm going to tell you. I hope he doesn't get mad at me for saying this. Jason Samosa is not his real name. Yep. Ontological shock. Reality shattered. Hopes and dreams shattered. The Aquaman shattered. Yep, it's all a lie. It's all a lie. Reality is a lie. We live in a controlled reality and it is a lie. Jason Samosa is not his real name. I know. It's devastating. It's actually Jason Momoa. No, look, I'm not going to tell you what his real name is. It is kind of public though, so I'm sure he probably wouldn't mind telling you guys eventually, or maybe it's like he still works, so it might be something like that. But look, just for a bit of fun, keep it between the 1,000 of us, okay? Just me and the 1,004 of you guys. Don't tell anyone, please. Stevie, aka let the crowd pay for my new Porsche or fund my government psyop, you pleb. He also says he sounds like a HR training video on steroids talking about showing feelings at work and loving trees. What the fuck? Yeah, it does have that vibe a little bit. If we went and found like some copyright free music, you know, the kind of music that you would hear maybe on like an Apple ad or like, you know, like elevator music. If you put God, we should do this one time. We should do this next stream just for a laugh. We should put elevator music over the Jordan Jozak video, and it would sound like a HR recruitment video. 100%, dude. 100%. Jameson says, "What the hell is hanging from that tree?" It's a good question, my man. Let me rip this wide open. Does look humanoid. Not going to jump to any wild conclusions, but does kind of look humanoid. What does that mean? I don't know. And that looks like Taurus, but it's using his YouTube name, which is Trimmer7368, is celebrating 1 month as a member and says, "Is it the Boston Liberty Tree?" That might be something for for our beautiful American friends in the chat to answer, because I'm not. I don't know. I don't know about that one, but maybe one of our free friends in the chat can answer that one for us. But get your comments in about that. Get your thoughts in the comments, because I'm interested to see where we go with this. And this is a little side quest that we will definitely keep an eye on and keep you guys updated with. Now, next story. We are running a little bit over time. Okay. Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson. It's always a good time when Alex Jones is around, whether you agree with him or not, whether you think he's a bit of a wacko or not. He's at least very entertaining. And that's what this show is about. You know, we like to have fun when we delve into satanic ritual abuse, because, you know, if you don't laugh, you'll probably cry quite profusely, actually. So this is Alex Jones talking about the world. And, you know, Jordan Jozak just spoke about this too. An awakening, people becoming more spiritually aware, and the kind of shift that seems to be going on right now. So let's check this out. We got 2 clips from this podcast to look at.
Do you feel do you feel like people are talking about God and spiritual matters more than they did 10 years ago? I mean, clearly they are. Where's that going?
Sorry, I know, a relentless pausing from me. But just to add context to that, my man Serpenter has said the Liberty Tree, 1646 to 1775, was a famous elm tree that stood in Boston, Massachusetts, near Boston, common in the years before the American Revolution. Okay, and do you believe that that's what that picture was? And is there some kind of significance to that tree other than the fact that it stood there at that time? Does it mean something? Did something happen with that tree? Is there something significant about it that could be what Jordan is referencing? Is there some kind of hidden meaning there? We'll play this clip and we'll come back to this at the end if we can tie up any knots.
I saw you with a guest a few weeks ago talk about, this is well known. I talked to everybody that's done it. I haven't done it. Almost everyone that takes DMT, either from the toad or the ayahuasca plant, these creatures show up that look like court gestures or, you know, space aliens, different things, and say, there are too many humans. You need to wipe out the population. Then you'll become gods. It's the same message. And they've had groups of people. They've done studies.
You need to wipe out. You need to kill people so you can become God.
Yes, you need to depopulate and you need to transcend.
Do you know people who've heard that message?
Oh, absolutely. They've had whole groups and studies that have had group hallucinations.
Okay, so it was the start of the revolution. So it almost seems like what Jordan is saying is that he's implying that perhaps learning about consciousness, turning inward, learning about the, you know, true nature of ourselves and reality could be the beginning of a revolution. And this really echoes the same kind of things that Matthew Brown said, I think. You know, talking about a Borimon, which is like an angel that signifies the end times. But not necessarily in the sense of like it's the end of the world, but it's like the end of the world as we know it, and we are about to go through a shift, aka a revolution. I think that's what he's probably getting at there. Now, I've just paused it here in this video because I want to ask. I've looked into DMT stories quite a little bit. I've never heard of DMT entities saying things like that, what Alex just said about like depopulating. I mean, we've heard about these things in like the New World Order, the Georgia Guidestones. This rhetoric isn't new, but I've definitely never heard it coming from entities on DMT. Is anyone else in the chat heard that?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not the most spiritually sensitive person. I'm hardly a theologian, but if some demon is telling you to kill people so you can become God, like, we can say that's bad, right?
Absolutely. And the people that then, you're talking about tech heads who, microdose and are big into hallucinations and big into hallucinogenics, when they get more advanced and deep into it, and then most of them have talked about this, then the things start giving them more ideas and explaining the system they're going to build, the AI, the takeover, and this new species, and how, again, you're going to transcend death. And so we've all got to have a larger question there. So they say the devil's greatest trick was convincing the world he didn't exist. I think that's his second biggest trick. I think convincing the world that good doesn't exist is the devil's biggest trick.
Yes. Can you flat? I think that I'm not exactly sure what you're saying, but I know that you're telling the truth right now. Can you?
Well, convincing us that there isn't anybody good and that you don't have power and that it's all over and we are the Borg, you will be assimilated. The biggest trick is hopelessness when we're promoting truth and justice and honor, and we can't just dial into demons and fallen angels. We can also dial into God and get that message. But you first have to recognize that good and evil exist.
Yes.
And once you recognize that we are ethereal beings, that we are just manifesting ourselves in the third dimension, that all these people that are even atheists have these near-death experiences that come back with the same message. I mean, I personally in my life, have had so many times where I'm literally told something and it comes true and it just comes from God. And so I know this is real. We are a lot more complex than just what our eyes and ears and taste and touch pick up. And when you really actually study the globalists, none of them are atheists. They're into the occult.
Exactly.
And they believe they're interfacing, even at Skull and Bones. At Yale, they get in these coffins for days. They try to get the spirits to come into them. They try to channel these spirits. The heads of Skull and Bones there in the last few days, seeing who's able to interface with this. These are real rituals that are part of activating parts of the mind so that people can see past the veil. And again, they've now been able, with robots and computers and wires in the brain, as Elon's talked about decades ago, this was already done. Your eyes narrow the light spectrum because there's so much going on that if you saw the infrared and everything else, would be too confusing. But now with hallucinogens and other things, they have been able to prove that people can actually see past the veil into basically other dimensions. And so that's really what this is. And we have to admit to ourselves that what we see and taste and touch and everything is a very small piece of actually what's going on. And
I think all 1,000 of us here right now know that, right? What he's saying here is for the normies. This is trying to wake people up to the fact that there is far more to reality than, your generic school curriculum would allow you to believe. I feel like most of us know that, but I feel like this revolution or this shift that we are going through is trying to get people to understand that on a broader scale and realize that people have been practicing magic and ritual and doing wild things to not only contact other intelligences, but receive information and technologies from them. And that esotericism has been at the forefront of scientific innovation for a long time. I feel like that is what this shift is going to be about, teaching people. Yeah, people are saying the machine elves. They always hear about DMT and the machine elves. McKenna talks about that a lot. And yes, these are the things I've heard, that they are some kind of like jester-like entity that will often almost tease you or highlight the things about you that you are either taking too seriously or the things that you need to work on, but they do it in this kind of like way of like mocking you. I've heard all about that. And that's so fascinating because, again, this is happening independently around the world. People are having the same experience when they take this substance. But I've never heard what he said at the start, which was that these things are saying that we need to depopulate the earth. I don't know if he's conflating stories. I don't know if he's just going full Alex Jones and kind of laying it on a little bit thick there, getting a little bit carried away, which he might be. And again, you know, people hear that and they're like, oh, this guy's just an idiot. He's just a raving lunatic. And, you know, he might have that wrong. But I think there is a lot of truth in things that Alex Jones has said. Remember, that doesn't mean everything he says is true, but you want to be able to remove the little things that upset you or aren't true and still listen, because there will often be a lot of nuggets in there.
That's that wider world. And people have to, once they understand that there is this wider battle going on, then you realize, oh my God, God's real. I better choose God or I better choose the devil. But if people are kind of embedded into this and just grow up in it, and just with the corporate media, if they get trained into the evil side, never knowing they really had a choice. But almost everybody, if they're given a choice early enough, will choose God that right way. The problem is the system on earth knows that. So the priest class in Christianity or Islam or Judaism, any of it, most of it's bad priests, bad churches who know the power's there, know people are looking for God, know they're seeking. So they're there basically to get the power from you instead of you basically transcending spiritually. And so that's why Christ talked about the relationship with God is personal.
Yes.
And the kingdom of God is within us. The New Agers go, oh, you are God. No, kingdom of God is within us. We're made in God's image. We have the potential to know God, to interface with God. That's worship God. And then through that, begin to transcend to a higher consciousness, interfacing with God, not God, but with God, and then part of God.
This stuff resonates with me massively. And you guys know I don't come from a religious background. I've only been discovering this stuff myself, kind of live. You know, if you go back and watch my videos from the start, you will see me in real time starting to like learn about the spiritual side of things and whatever. And just recently, especially in the members only stream that we did the other day, I've been speaking about the fact how I've been looking into Gnosticism and Gnosis, and a lot of what Gnosticism teaches resonated with me in a way of like, these are the beliefs that have been like making sense to me and coming to me, and just kind of like that path feels right to me. I'm not saying it's the truth, because, you know, everyone finds their own way to establish that connection. But what he is talking about there, about God being within us, is what I have sort of come to believe. And that I think the greatest sort of trick is that modern religion has removed the power from people by saying there is something that's coming. You're waiting for something to come and save you. So that power now is removed from you, because in your head, you're waiting for something. You don't think it's here in you. But when you know that, then you become like, well, not only are you able to establish the connection yourself, but you sort of take control of your life and your own reality. So again, he might be getting it wrong or talking shit about the whole DMT entities trying to, reduce the world population. But for me, what he's saying here about God is within us, it's hitting deep for me, 100%. And you guys know, not a religious person, never have been. Only got into this through studying UFOs, and it all makes a lot of sense to me.
So the gift is to see good. Like in that, I do think that's the trick, because no one needs a tutorial on evil. It's all around us. It's super obvious. It no longer disguises itself. Abortion for the sake of abortion, like what is that? Well, it's human sacrifice, just Canaanite. And
the DNC doing abortions inside of
completely for the sake of abortion, not to improve the life of the girl, or she's a 14-year-old rape victim. It's just like, no, abortion is inherently good because it's killing a person. That is all out in the open now. Nobody is confused about its existence. What you don't get a lot of is the recognition that good is a more than equal. It's a larger and opposing force. God is bigger than Satan, and you don't get that sense. Like nobody talks about that. You don't see it. How do you find that?
So
Not sure I even totally agree with what Tucker is saying there about abortion. Like, that's tough. Cal Rose is spamming that Buddhism is better than Gnosticism. I actually think Buddhism has a lot of good teachings and values, and I think you can enjoy both and take good teachings from both, and you don't have to pick. Like, you don't have to be tribal about this. It doesn't have to be like, my God is better than your God. I think there are good teachings in a lot of these things, and it's going to be different for everyone. Like, that framework and that path to establishing that connection to source is going to be different for everyone. But I believe, and I've said this before, I don't actually think the framework is really what matters. I think belief is what matters. As long as you wholeheartedly believe it, then it's going to manifest for you. What you choose to believe in is kind of irrelevant, but the power is in the belief. That's just my own theory. Can't prove it, obviously. And some people might not agree, but personally, I think there's something in that. Tao says he's just memeing. Fair enough, bro. You're a heavy Gnostic. There you go. Weird meme to say that you think Buddhism is better than Gnosticism, but you're a Gnostic. But okay, I'm with you, brother. I'm with you. I love a good meme.
So many people purposely get turned off of the system by going to a church, whether it's Catholic, Protestant, any of it. And I'm a very empathic person. So growing up, I would feel at churches and you get invited here or there, really creeped out, not by the parishioners, but by the people in the system that are trained. Because
if that is for sure. Gosh,
where I feel the strongest demonic energy is in a lot of these big churches and a lot of these big things, because that's where the devil's sitting his forces, and it's energetic. And so, but Christ criticized the Pharisees, Sadducees constantly. He said, you go pray up on the hill in front of everybody. You talk about how perfect you are all day, but really you're of your father, the devil, in the synagogue of Satan. Or you call it a black Sabbath or whatever. And it happens in Christian churches, happens in Judaism, it happens everywhere. And if you look at later Judaism, it's not just the Old Testament, the Torah, there's over 30 other books that they say, the rabbinical teachings are just as important. And it runs the gamut from some sects that you could call very pious and close to God to others that are outright Satanism. And you see that in the Christian denominations, all the things that call themselves Christian, that really are. Christ said, beware things, call themselves of God but are not, or the synagogue of Satan. Well, there weren't Christian churches then, the churches were synagogues, but it goes for synagogues, churches, anything that you got to be really close to God and the Holy Spirit lest you be deceived. And so that's really where it all is. And it comes down to your spiritual inclination. But I just recommend with people personal relationship with God, praying to God, saying, I want to be good. I want to recognize truth. I want to know what truth is. I want to open myself up to you. I'm an imperfect. I repent for what I've done. And I want you to cleanse me and then show me the truth, and then show me a better person, and then show me after that what the mission is you have for me. And literally, if you do that through a process, it may take days, may take months, may take years, then the adventure begins. And then all of a sudden you're being given like intel and stuff, like literally just, you have to learn to go with it. It's never wrong. And it's God and it's there, and it's your personal relationship. And then obviously people get this relationship. They all want to teach other people it. And God says, get together in groups. That's great. But Christ didn't try to go get the Sadducees and the Pharisees and the priest class to join him. He said their minds were closed. He went to the prostitutes and the tax collectors and the robbers and the thieves because they were already outcast. But that's where he found people that were already under evil's control but weren't arrogant about it, who were looking for a way out.
Interesting what he said earlier about how these big churches are where a lot of the most like demonic energy is. I've sort of spoken about this rough a little bit, and that I said before, I'm not religious, but I have talked about the fact that I did have some very like short-lived, mild experiences in churches as a kid and a teenager, mainly just like tagging along with friends. And there always was this weird energy in there. Now, I don't necessarily know if it was demonic, but it did always feel weird to me. I don't know if that's just because I was a kid going into a space that was so different to what I was used to, but people did always feel like sort of unnaturally happy. Like, why is everyone so happy? It almost feels like everyone's under a spell or something like that. I remember it feeling like that. But my very first experience as a young kid was at a Pentecostal church, and like, you know, thrown right in the deep end, people speaking in tongues, shit like that. Like that was weird to me, but I was probably too young to really grasp it, other than just being like, this is weird. But when I've spoken about that, I've had a lot of emails from people talking about very, very high strangeness experiences with the Pentecostal church. Yeah. I don't know what's going on with that. Like I said, you know, I don't think like your average person who goes to church is like, you know, demonic or anything like that. But it does feel like the mainstream sort of church systems are corrupted. But again, it's like the government's corrupt. Does that mean every politician is? No, they're just normal people who end up kind of becoming pawns in a system. I think that's the case for most of the people who speak and run churches and that. Like, the intentions are good, but it just feels like something is wrong. Something is off. But it's hard to exactly put your finger on what it is. There was a couple of comments here that I wanted to read. And it seems like they have wormholed themselves out of the comments. I think 3 orbs just spawned, rotated around the comment section, and they just disappeared. Okay, maybe we'll just keep going with the video because I'm losing it. I can't find it. And I'm sad because there were good comments. Yeah, okay, unlucky. Let's keep going.
And so, I mean, I think that's really what it comes down to, is a spiritual relationship with God. And there are some real churches and things.
But don't you find that? I know I have found that you see sparks of this in the most unlikely people. If you put a list on paper of the people in your life, I won't ask you to say it out loud, but who you really trust, or you talk to and you groove with them and they like know exactly what you're saying. You know, they are on the same wavelength in some deep way. It's not the people you would expect. Have you ever noticed that?
Absolutely. I mean, most people get into media because they want to be movie stars. Most people become a preacher because they want to, you know, because they want to be famous and have power. And then you'll find like just the most just normal, unassuming person that has all this great knowledge.
Yes.
Because they already have all the power. They don't need power. And so it's just
they're connected to God's power. Is that what you mean?
Absolutely. And I mean, it's quite the quest, because so many people are lost, and really it's an inside job. They've got to somehow open up the channel to God, and then they'll see everything that's happening, and then God will give them a message and a mission of what they should do. And I don't want to say all churches are bad, because there's a lot of good people in the churches regardless. It's just that the last 120 years, the Rockefeller Foundation, with the ecumenical movement and all of that, has really moved into the churches. And we see that with all the rainbow flags and all, you know, the famous, you know, cathedrals in England now festooned with all the leftist, you know, graffiti and garbage. I mean, it's been captured, is my point. But people can't get turned off by that and say, well, God's dead. No. Satan has occupied the so-called temples. But God isn't in the temple. God is inside us.
Put it on a t-shirt. Put that on a t-shirt. Alex Jones. Red Hill 1660 came out with a great comment and says, this church of weirdos is where the truth is, my brothers and sisters. Thank you very much, Red Hill. Great comment. And look, I endeavor for that to be true. I really do. That is what this is all about. I have no agenda. I don't really care. I have no like specific outcome that I need or I want. I'm just interested in finding out what the hell is going on. Because when you look around, it certainly seems like, you know, something ain't right. Something ain't right. Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right. Achy Balls says, this chat between Alex and Tucker is an infomercial for the current ramped up Christian recruitment drive. Potentially. That does seem to be happening, but And so one of the comments earlier that I lost said something like this. It was something like, it was something like, I'm losing it. I can't remember. Okay, we'll just go to your comment with the ramped up Christian recruitment drive. Okay, no, I remember the comment now. It was someone saying that they're agnostic. Okay, they're agnostic. They don't really fully believe in everything. I feel like a lot of us start that way. I certainly did. Well, I went from being like atheist, like anti-religion, thinking it's all dumb and retarded, right? And then became more like agnostic, like who knows? Who knows what's really going on? And then I realized that satanic ritual abuse is real and rampant. And not just rampant, it's not like there's crackies under a bridge doing it and they're just the degenerates of society. It's the people running the show. The people running the show are doing satanic ritual abuse and removing the life of children. The people running the show are doing these things, okay? That is happening. So it's a little hard to be agnostic when you realize that. When you realize that the people running the show are doing that, I find it very hard to be, I'm a little bit on the fence about this. Yeah, there could be, there couldn't be, I don't know. No, bro. There's evil in this world. There is evil in this world, and it seems like they have the reins right now. I don't want to be a doomer, right? You guys know I'm all about positivity, and I really do believe we shouldn't fear, and that you have to shine light in the darkness, and that love will always trump everything. I really do believe that. But when you start to realize that those things are real, bro, what else are you going to do? What else are you going to turn to? You're going to stay on the fence and be like agnostic and be like, I'm not sure. No, bro, kids are having their life removed. People are being sacrificed. And it's the people who are in control. It's the people you pay taxes to. So, if that doesn't get you thinking a little bit more deeply about rituals, magic, spirituality, our connection to something higher, I don't know what to tell you, bro. I don't know what to tell you. Stevie says, hanging from the tree are effigies of British officials used by the colonists as symbols of resistance and protest against British authority, probably meant to show us waking up to the breakaway civilization. Yeah, interesting. I think there's definitely big symbolism in that image about a revolution and wiping the slate clean. 100%. Josh, you need to do a series on the Law of One. Jonathan Nelson, brother, let me cook, all right? It's in the oven. It's in the oven. It's been in the oven for a while. It's cooking. It's nearly ready, all right? Let the man cook, please. I'm kidding, but thank you. It's coming. Achy Balls, definition, belief. A state or habit of mind in which trust or confidence is placed in a person or thing. 2, something that one thinks is true, a conviction. Wisdom is not the reward of believing. Oh, Aki, you always make me have to sort of decode your messages live. I like it, but you put me on the spot, you get me thinking. I like it though. Wisdom is not the reward of belief. What is wisdom then? Where does wisdom come from? Because I agree with that last statement. I agree. Wisdom is not the reward of belief. I think belief is a powerful tool. I think like wisdom. I think belief is almost like the chisel of your reality. Wherever you decide to use belief will carve out the world that you personally live in or how you see the world. That is what belief is. It's the chisel. But what about wisdom? Where do you think that comes from? I think wisdom and that sense of knowing I think when you get those little downloads, those little thoughts, those intuition, those feelings that come with, that feel like wisdom or a sense of knowing, I think that is your higher self. I think that is when you have established a connection or are perhaps having a little temporary connection with your higher self, something that sort of transcends time, at least in a linear fashion, and you sort of just know. You sort of just know things. I don't think I explained that as well as I wanted to, but I think I conveyed it in a way that most people would at least understand it. Radical Bradical. Dude, that's a sick name. Radical Bradical, my man, says, people judge Alex Jones and call him a lunatic until his words become truth. Then they'll be calling him a prophet. Yep. Hey, the conspiracy theorists are always crazy until it all comes true, right? The conspiracy theorists are crazy for about 6 months, and then it goes on the mainstream news, and people are like, oh. Yeah, bro, been telling you for a while. Should have watched Polarity. I think we missed one. LL Cool Day says you should do an episode about gate kids, dive into the MK Ultra theory, maybe look into more world sleep paralysis. We are, like I said, someone coming on the show soon to talk about MK Ultra in some pretty good depth. I'm really looking forward to that. Someone who is alleged to be involved in the program. And Jameson Moore gifted a membership, you legend. He also says, I'm scared. Jameson Moore, don't be scared, my brother. Do not be scared. Do not fear. Seriously. I really believe that. If, again, look, we've got one more clip to get to, and I do want to get to it, but I just want to say, remember that, like, just remember what Tom DeLonge has told us and others, that something might be here manipulating our emotions into a state of fear, because when we are in fear, we are easily controllable. And you have a choice over how you feel about anything in life, about even the harshest heartbreaks and tough moments in your life. If you have control over your mind and your emotions, when those things come, you can feel them. It's not about not feeling them. You can feel them, but do you let that emotion kind of hijack your brain and run away with it out of control? You have a choice on how you feel about everything. So, yes, these can be scary times, but you don't have to feel fear. And I really believe that is an important message, especially as we approach 2026 and 2027. I don't think that can be overstated, sorry. Paris Diamond says, wisdom comes from lessons and intuition. I would agree with that, Paris. Thank you. And Achy Balls is back, saying knowing and believing are in opposition. Knowledge is the work. Wisdom is the reward. Dude, I have to read everything you say twice. Knowing and believing are in opposition. Knowledge is the work. Wisdom is the reward. Okay. Yep. I'm with you. Yep. Knowing is believing. No, knowing and believing are in opposition, because when you know something, you don't need to believe it because you know it. Belief is sort of like placing faith in something. And knowledge is the work, and wisdom is the reward from the work. I like it. Thank you very much, bro. You're always dropping some little cryptic knowledge bombs for us, and I appreciate it. We have a couple clips left, and let's get straight into it. This is a bit shorter. This is Alex Jones and Tucker again talking about the Antichrist.
Exactly. While we're on theology, what do you think of Peter Thiel's whole Antichrist lecture?
I haven't seen it. I have talked to him about it at great length. I think it's really interesting. I didn't really get to the punchline on that. So the question everyone, has is, okay, who's the Antichrist? I think maybe there's more than one. I don't know.
It's a system.
Right. So I would just say I'm not taking a pass on the question. I would, but I don't. This is so far out of my depth. I mean, I'm just sort of at the I'm for Jesus stage of things. But I'm glad that there's a conversation about it. I welcome all conversations about the transcendent because I think it's what matters.
Well, exactly, because, I love the a comedian, Tim Dillon. He's like, this guy's got all this cashless control grid, and then he wants to know about the Antichrist. Well, he grew up really Christian. People don't know, Peter Thiel, and then now he's wanting to have a debate about it. I don't think the Antichrist wants you to have a debate about the Antichrist.
I think that's, in general, it's worth talking about and reminding ourselves and others that this is just like a small piece of what's real. We're just seeing a tiny fraction of reality. Like the world, that realm is as real as, the table we're sitting at, and people lose sight of that. I lose sight of that.
Exactly. So we should be having not just Peter Thiel, everybody, Donald Trump, you and I, we should be discussing Revelation, what's described is really happening now.
Yeah.
So we should be having, oh God, Peter Thiel's the Antichrist. He's talking about the Antichrist. What? Because some people are like, well, what's he doing talking about the Antichrist? Well, I think we should all be talking about it.
Well, because I think the temptation is to just ignore the whole topic. I mean, that's the world that I grew up in, where it was just never discussed.
Devil doesn't exist. It was just
100%. People's sex lives were a frequent topic of conversation. Everyone was super liberal about that. Like, no one was embarrassed of anything except any question that transcended the material was just considered, like death was considered totally off limits, because it pointed to these obvious questions, like what happens then? And so I really welcome that. I think all healthy societies face death.
Exactly.
Directly.
People go, oh, you're a Peter Thiel dick writer. No, you should be having a discussion about Antichrist. Why aren't you? And so what I haven't seen the presentation.
So people, I'm sorry, I missed a lot because I do think the internet's demonic. Sorry, I know I work on the internet, but the whole thing is comfortable. So I haven't seen.
See what I'm saying? Even the internet is demonic. Everything's fucking demonic, dude. I mean, like, I get it. I get what he's saying, but I just really battle with, like, intention. Like, are we all demonic? Is all 1,080 of us demonic for being here? No, I don't think so. The internet can be a great utility, can do amazing things, can connect people, but it can be used for nefarious purposes too. And, the internet is very curated these days. It's definitely not what it used to be. You used to be able to use a search engine and you would find all of these interesting rogue little corners and results from the internet. Search anything now, you get mainstream results. The internet is mainstream now. You get news, you just get like your main news websites, and you get like just, you're not getting these weird little rogue pockets of the internet anymore with like forums and stuff. It's sanitized. I think that's the best word.
In any of this, but people are attacking Thiel for this?
Oh, I mean, it's like, oh yeah. It's like, they haven't even found out what he's saying. I've read some of the articles. I tried to get tickets, but it was already sold out. But I wanted to see his view on it. But all I know is that we should be having a discussion about the Antichrist. I mean, we're having one already here. And so what is the Antichrist? I think you need to know the enemy. I think you need to know.
Well, one obvious hallmark from my, frequent but very untutored reading of those books in the New Testament is that the Antichrist reserves the powers of God for himself. He pretends to be God. I'm all powerful. I can, worship me. And by the way, that's most leaders in the world through all time. But those are signs of evil. You are not God. No one can worship. I totally agree. No one can worship you. And the shitty things you do on earth do not make you powerful. They destroy you, actually. And so that it's all described in Jesus' 40 days in the wilderness, where Satan offers him these deals, and he declines all of them. But that's like whether you're a Christian or not, that is the template for life. Oh, if I just do this, I'll win this election. I break some eggs to make the omelet. No, dude, you're going to be destroyed for that. Probably in this life, certainly in the next. And that's just real. That's just a fact.
I agree. And it's nothing but healthy to have a discussion about that.
100%. So I guess the one thing I don't like about the Antichrist conversation is it makes it sound like, Anton LaVey is going to show up and like start murdering people. And I think it's much more present than that. I mean, I think literally Antichrist means against Christ. Well, who would that include? Most leaders in the world, they hate Jesus.
They do. Well, look what Elon is starting to come around.
You want to make people upset? Start talking about Jesus. I just did this at Charlie Kirk's memorial. I did like some 6-minute talk about Jesus, only Jesus. That's it. I said to my wife in the shower that morning, I was like, I'm not getting political at all. I'm not going to attack anybody. I just want to be as like unifying as I can and consistent with what Charlie really cared about as I can and what he really cared about.
They called it anti-Semitic.
It was insane.
Dude, look, I think Tucker Carlson's pretty funny. He's a funny dude. And like what he said, we played it on the channel. What he said at Charlie Kirk's memorial was the most like low-key stab at the you-know-whos. And I'm not talking about Voldemort, although some people might be. You know, the you-know-whos. And here he is being like, I don't know what people were talking about. I was just telling a story about Jesus. Ooh. Like, bro, come on. Come on, mate. We know exactly what you were saying. Okay? We know exactly what you were saying. And watching him be so like, I don't know, is kind of hilarious.
Which was, of course, absurd, but leaving aside the absurdity, like the emotion was real. It was totally real. Like, oh my gosh, that's outrageous that you said that. It's like...
Great speech. I watched it.
Oh, I don't know. It was just short, but...
But to be fair, I don't think it was anti-Semitic either. Like, I think that term is quite retarded and overused. It's almost as bad as demonic. Like, you know, anything bad, demonic. Anything bad, anti-Semitic. It's just a catchphrase at this point, right? You can't ask critical thinking. You can't ask questions with good intent, right? Like, we should be able to, if we see something that's a bit suspect, if something feels a little bit off, if most of the politicians seem to be paid and bought by a certain group who have a vested interest in another country, we should be allowed to say, hey, that seems a little bit weird. That seems like maybe a conflict of interest for our country, which, if you haven't noticed, isn't doing too well. Just asking the question, but that's anti-Semitic. Or it's demonic. Do you know what I mean? It's just like these retarded words that people just throw around to try and like win an argument and demonize someone is just like, you know, look, whatever this shift is, whatever this revolution is, I hope we leave all of this dumbass lack of critical thinking in the last world, okay? Because we should be allowed to ask questions. We should be allowed to talk about things that might be a little bit sensitive without people getting butthurt and calling you demonic or anti-Semitic or a racist or a Nazi or whatever the hell you want to say, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're not being a good person or you're not acting in a way that is kind and for the betterment of humanity, you can get the fuck out respectfully. Thank you.
All I did was recount the gospel, but that's the most controversial thing you can do. And everyone's happy to talk about God all the time. God, spiritual, this. Jesus, man, that's a no-go zone. Why is that?
Absolutely.
Because it's real, that's why. And it just triggers the fuck out of people.
Yep.
I shouldn't even.
Well, no, I mean,
sorry.
but I agree with you that
Go off, Tucker. Get it, boy. Get it. Go off. Swear. Do it.
that we need to have an open discussion about this because it's here. And notice the left, they're all about total control of language where there's almost nothing discussed. And so that's why they get so upset when these discussions start to happen. And I just look at civilization and society, we should be having a major front and center discussion about AI. And that's what Elon Musk talks about, who's gone from not believing in God, saying we need God. He's starting to come around to saying, listen, we're going to have AI. Obviously, the genie's out of the bottle, but we don't want to centralize them. We want a whole bunch of them. We want a diversity of them. And I think, well, what is the answer to AI? Because it's people say, oh, why are you for AI? I'm not. It's not going away. What is the answer to AI if it's being rolled out? And I know the globalists want to basically have one AI. Elon's answers have distributed AI, non-centralized AI, but no matter what it is, it just turns bad.
I have no idea. I know that a lot of the people developing AI are really, really bad. Really, really bad. Like the worst. And what do I mean by bad specifically? They think they're God. And that's the core lie. It's not like how many people have you killed. If you think you're God, you will kill people. And the more power you have, the more you will kill. It's just by its nature bad. And so it means no restraint, no perspective, no humility. Man, that's a recipe for genocide always.
Certainly is. It certainly is. Hey, has anyone seen those Epstein files? Has anyone seen those Epstein files, by the way? Guys, we have one more clip, and this isn't really a clip. This is just a funny way to end. And again, we might be pushing copyright laws here, but your boy does like to push the envelope. Your boy does like to flirt with authority, and has a bit of a problem with it. Always has. Can't help it. Just wired that way. And we're going to play a little clip from South Park here talking about the Antichrist. This is new. I've tried to edit it a little bit and shorten it to hopefully get away with it. But if you want to watch the full thing, I did post it on my X, which you can follow me at just down there, at Polarity Josh. By the way, also follow me on Instagram. We're going to be running a competition on Instagram very soon to line up with the birthday stream, which is happening in 2 weeks. Going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a really good time. Okay. We're going to have a really good time. And when I say that, I don't mean, people aren't going to be looking like this. We're actually going to have a good time. And we're going to have a competition, but it's through Instagram. So follow me on Instagram at Polarity Josh, also on X for this full clip. But this is funny.
Hello, kids. I'm Peter Thiel, and I'm here to talk to you about the Antichrist. Okay, so first, what is the Antichrist? The Antichrist is a newer, more human form of Satan that will soon walk the earth. We don't know how soon it will walk the earth, but it could be within the next 6 to 7 weeks. You see, Satan was a fallen angel, and God punished him. And to make sure Satan could never have offspring, the Lord God did shrink Satan's asshole to the size of a tiny little pinhole, so nothing could ever penetrate and ejaculate inside of it. So Satan could never have a butt baby until along came Mr. Donald Trump.
There you go. There you go. That is actually an inside look at Peter Thiel's speech on the Antichrist. I don't know. I think this might be an exclusive, actually. I think we might be one of the first people reporting on it because not many people have seen it. But there you go. There is more to it. Go and check it out on X. Stevie says, "Mate, I sent it to you." Mate, you and about 400 other people. Yep, that's right. So go and check that out. That's on my X. Just quickly though, Angry Drunken German says, if Aussies, Brits, Americans, and Zealanders are all discussing evil with only a 10-second delay, the opportunity for real good and progress are also better than ever before. My man, I wouldn't want to mess with an angry drunk German. Absolutely not. Thank you very much for the $10. Susie, shout out to you. And Christopher says, God may reside in the highest spatial dimension where all time and reality is unified, perhaps the source of all lower dimensions, including ours. There you go. The chat is chipping in today with some absolute truth bombs. Get out of here. You're finished. But guys, I said we'd be back with a banger. It's been a bit of a longer show today. I've loved it. It feels good to be back. Thank you all for hanging out with me today. I'm hoping the podcast with Nathaniel Gillis will be out in the next couple of days. I'm not sure if we'll be live tomorrow. I've got a big day of editing, but I'm going to try and get it done. But definitely next week, we will sort of be back to regular schedule, and we'll be pumping out those live streams, getting it done, getting into all the weirdness. Go and check out the merch store, guys. Get a hat, get a beanie, get a whatever you want. We're going to get some more merch coming soon, but be good, be kind, touch some grass, and I will see you next time. Take care.
Eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on?
No matter how far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go exactly the same place to the light in our galaxy. Everything. Because everything is in balance. Everything is a polarity.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.